Are Wisconsin dairy farmers being taken advantage of by Canada? President Trump appears to believe so.
Our dairy farmers in Wisconsin. And I've been reading about it, and I've been talking about it for a long time, and that demands really immediately fair trade with all of our trading partners, and that includes Canada. Because in Canada, some very unfair things have happened to our dairy farmers and others, and we're going to start working on that with Ron and with Scott and with Paul and with all of your representatives. What's happened to you is very, very unfair. It's another typical one-sided deal against the United States.
Wow, those are harsh allegations. If Canada were indeed cheating American dairy farmers, we would see cheap dairy flooding the U.S. market, right? However, that is not the case. Year after year, the United States exports significantly more dairy to Canada than Canada exports to the United States. Undersupply. Management. Canada lacks the surplus production to export meaningful amounts. The average Canadian spending represents about $16 per year on U.S. dairy. Conversely, the spending of an average American represents less than $1 annually on Canadian dairy imports. This indicates that Canada is not a significant dairy market for the United States. Nevertheless, a trade surplus does exist. Since supply management began in the 1970s, Canada has not had a net dairy trade surplus. Even during the trade tensions of 2018 and 2019, with high tariffs and rising emotions, the United States maintained a dairy surplus with Canada. In 2025, despite a Canadian consumer boycott, the U.S. still recorded a net dairy trade surplus, which continued into 2026 amid significant tensions. The United States also provides dairy subsidies. These include margin protection initiatives, price supports, government purchases of excess milk, subsidized crop insurance, and emergency assistance. Historically, the U.S. has subsidized dairy exports to boost competitiveness internationally. Although the original DEIP program ended, new export promotion initiatives continue to assist dairy exporters. These initiatives help stabilize income in a market producing more milk than it can sell domestically. Canada also supports agriculture, but employs different approaches. Canadian crop insurance is subsidized. Farmers contribute a portion of the premium, while governments cover the rest. This is comparable to the U.S. model. However, Canada does not subsidize dairy production. Instead, production is governed by supply management. When American politicians claim that Canada is cheating, the truth is more nuanced. Both countries offer support to their farmers. They simply utilize different methods. President Trump believes that without supply management, Canadian dairy production would collapse, leaving a void that could be filled by U.S. dairy. If Canada abandoned supply management, a necessary step to reduce tariffs, it would likely become a net dairy exporter. This wouldn't be due to political games. It would stem from economic realities. Canadian farmers would need to boost production. Many could do so simply by operating at full capacity. Canada possesses the land, feed, and capacity to swiftly increase dairy output. Faced with a fully open market, Canadian farmers would elevate production levels to survive. This excess milk would enter a global market that's already oversaturated. Within 2 years of Canada dropping supply management, U.S. dairy farmers would almost certainly be asking for tariffs or subsidies in a market that is already producing too much milk. If supply management negatively impacts anyone, it would be Canadian consumers rather than American farmers. However, approximately 75% of Canadians endorse the system, prioritizing stable family farms and rural communities. The evidence does not support the notion that Canada is cheating Wisconsin dairy farmers. Canadians look after our own farmers. Thanks for watching. I am trying to get to 500 subscribers, so please like and subscribe to my channel. And if you could share on social media, it would help.